Pumpkin in chili? Don't scroll away just yet. I promise this combo will blow your mind. The pumpkin makes it rich and creamy with just a hint of sweetness. The quinoa adds protein and texture, and the spices tie it all together for the ultimate fall comfort food. Hi friends, Stephanie here. If you're craving something cozy and satisfying for fall, this pumpkin quinoa chili is going to become your new favorite. It's hearty, it's full of flavor, and it's made from wholesome ingredients, so it'll leave you feeling amazing after you eat. Plus, it's surprisingly simple to make. Let's cook some together right now. We'll start with a medium-sized fresh pie pumpkin for this recipe. Half of it we'll chop into bite-sized pieces, and the other half we'll roast and then blend into a smooth puree to thicken the chili at the end. If you missed my last video on how to make your own homemade pumpkin puree, I'll drop a link to that video in the description below this one. In this video though, I'll show you how to chop a fresh pumpkin into bite-sized pieces. First, we'll slice the pumpkin in half just like we did last time. Scoop out the seeds. Then slice the half into crescent-shaped pieces. This will make it easier to slice away the hard outer skin by turning each crescent on its side and shaving away the skin with short downward strokes of the knife. Once each slice is peeled of its skin, you can just chop the pumpkin flesh into bite-sized pieces. You can keep these on the larger side because they will shrink down a bit while they're cooking. While we're chopping, we'll dice 2 red onions. And peel and slice about 8 to 10 cloves of garlic, or if you're like me and a bit garlic obsessed, as many garlic cloves as you want. For me, this ends up being usually about a 1/4 cup of sliced garlic. We'll chop 4 bell peppers into a large dice as well. I highly recommend using a full rainbow array of peppers. Not only does it vary the nutritional profile of the dish, but it just looks so beautiful and inviting too. If you'd like, you can mince a jalapeno as well. If you're a bit sensitive to heat, you can remove the seeds from the jalapeno before you mince it and add it to the pot. However, if you love that heat, go ahead and leave the seeds in. In any case, be sure to wash your hands really well after you handle jalapeno, because sometimes the acid remains on your hands, and if you touch your eyes afterwards, it can really burn. If you happen to have some really beautiful fresh tomatoes, go ahead and dice those up as well. This is optional though, because if you don't have these, you can just add an additional can of fire-roasted diced tomatoes when we add those to the recipe later on. And we'll also dice up 2 large portobello mushroom caps. Now we're ready to cook. And I just like to take a moment to appreciate all the colors and the textures and the aromas that are happening on my kitchen counter right now. Whenever you can bring in all of the senses and stay present for the cooking process, it just makes the whole experience more enjoyable. From this point forward, everything is super easy and straightforward. So let's go over to the stove and we'll put this all together. We'll start by heating about a 1/4 cup of vegetable broth in a large soup pot over medium-high heat until it's simmering. Add the diced onion and a sprinkling of salt. Then give these a stir and let them simmer for a few minutes until they're softening. Add the sliced garlic and stir this into the onions until it's fragrant for about another minute. As the onions and garlic saute in the vegetable broth, the broth begins to evaporate, so you might need to add just a splash more broth to prevent the veggies from sticking to the bottom of the pan. Then we'll add the bell peppers and the minced jalapeno. Then add the diced pumpkin and stir that in as well. Then add about 2 more cups of vegetable broth, your diced fresh tomatoes if you're using those, and 1 or 2 cans of fire-roasted diced tomatoes, depending on whether you used fresh tomatoes or not. And now we'll stir this all together too. Next come the red kidney beans and the black beans, a can of each, and then the remaining vegetable broth. And stir everything together really well. Bring this to a boil, and then once it's boiling, reduce the heat to medium-high so that it's simmering. And then we'll add the spices. 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 tablespoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and a ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And we'll stir those in. And next we'll add the quinoa. Now I've rinsed this a few times until the rinse water ran clear. So we'll add this to the pot now as well. And then just stir that in. Then let's add the diced portobello mushrooms at this point too. And this next ingredient is optional, but if you haven't picked up a jar of Trader Joe's fermented black garlic yet, you are really missing out. It adds so much depth of flavor. 10 out of 10, I highly recommend adding this. We'll just add a teaspoon if you've got it. Okay, we'll stir this all together one more time. And then we'll place the lid on the pot and let it simmer like this for about 15 minutes. In this time, the quinoa and the veggies will cook fully and the flavors will just meld together beautifully. After the chili has simmered for about 15 minutes, we'll taste it to make sure that the quinoa is fully cooked. If the quinoa seems a little too firm, then continue simmering for another 3 to 5 minutes. Then we'll add 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Now, because I roasted a pumpkin and pureed it last week, I was able to defrost this and I'll just add it directly to the pot. But if you're doing this all at once, you would roast the other half of the pumpkin like I showed you in my last video, puree it, and then add it now. Or of course, you could just use canned pumpkin, but fresh is always better flavor-wise if you have time for it. The pumpkin puree thickens the chili so nicely. So we'll stir that in now until it's evenly incorporated. Now you can taste the chili one more time, just to make sure it's seasoned to your liking. So good. So let's ladle some into a bowl and taste it. This is amazing. It's outrageously flavorful, it's protein-packed, and just a truly wonderful, cozy, super satisfying fall meal. This recipe makes a full soup pot of chili, so it's a really great recipe to make when you're having a group of friends over to watch the game, or you can make a big pot of pumpkin quinoa chili and then freeze it in smaller portions so that you always have a wholesome meal on hand to defrost and enjoy on a busy weeknight or to take to work for lunch. If you make this, please share a photo on social media and tag me at Green Sage Life so that I can see it and cheer you on. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the whole food plant-based recipes I've got coming to the channel very soon. Thanks so much for cooking with me today. Again, I'm Stephanie of Green Sage, wishing you good health and delicious food. I'll see you again next time.